Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker.
Hold on there, buddy.
Santa, what are you doing here? I'm about to film.
Oh, I know. I also know that none of these so-called Christmas treats that you've been making have been cookies.
Well,
my favorite. And Mrs. Claus has had to take out my belt a notch or two. And, well, she wouldn't be too upset if I ate more cookies if they were more along the lines of what you typically make.
Except that I'm about to make something here, and maybe next year I can do some cookies for you and get them.
Next year you'll be getting cold just like this year if I don't get my cookies.
But it's Christmas Eve. I can't just come up with something.
Poppycock. It's nothing for you to come up with one of your little low-bite, low-calorie, low-point treats. And I have just the inspiration for you. A little gift, if you will. I suggest you use that. And I expect to have my cookies or else. Ho, ho, ho. Rudolph, stop nibbling on that thing. You don't know where it's been.
Okay. Cinnamon. I guess I'll see what I can come up with. I don't want to get Santa mad. Not again. Hello and welcome to my kitchen. My name is Roy. I am a home cook and amateur baker, and I am here on this channel sharing recipes that have helped me to lose over 125 pounds, whether those recipes are mine or someone else's. Now today's recipe, as you may have seen from the intro, has been requested by a certain someone, and I am not going to disappoint. So I'm going to be making some cookies, some Snickerdoodles, and I'm going to be making them with a cake mix. May seem odd, but just wait. They are very tasty with a great chewy texture. So for this recipe, you're going to need, hopefully, things you have around the house. A box of cake mix. I'm using the yellow cake mix because I am doing Snickerdoodles, but you can make other cookies using this same basic method using any kind of sugar-free cake mix or any cake mix for that matter. I have some cooking spray, of course. I have 1 egg and 2 egg yolks. Now the reason I'm using 2 egg yolks as well as 1 egg instead of just 2 eggs is that the yolks give it more moisture and will give it more of that chewy texture that I'm looking for and less of a cakey texture, which I would have gotten from just using 2 eggs. I have a 1/4 cup of pumpkin puree, not pumpkin pie mix. And for those of you who may not have pumpkin or want to use it, you could use unsweetened applesauce in place of it, but you'll probably just need to bake it about a minute or 2 longer because the applesauce is going to be wetter than the pumpkin puree. I have a 1/2 teaspoon of baking soda, and you may be asking yourself, why are you adding baking soda if you already have a cake mix which has a leavener in it? Very good question. The reason is that having a little extra leavener in there will actually make the cookies swell up a little too large and then make them deflate a little bit so that they give you more of a chewy texture and less of a cakey texture. And then I have 3 teaspoons of cinnamon divided. I have 2 teaspoons that are going to go into the cake and 1 teaspoon for the coating that goes on a typical Snickerdoodle. If you've ever made a Snickerdoodle, they are coated in a cinnamon sugar, which brings me to the surprise ingredient right here in the middle. 1 tablespoon of actual granulated sugar. It's not sugar replacement, it's not swerve, it's actual sugar. It will give a better taste on the outside of the cookie, a better texture, and the amount that we're using, 1 tablespoon spread across 24 cookies, it's not going to alter the bites or points or calories or anything like that. So those are all the ingredients we need. So let's get right into it. We're going to open up our cake mix, which of course I should have opened before I got on camera. But why bother with that when I can possibly make a giant mess right here on camera? And also make crinkling noises in the microphone for you. Just what everyone needs. Okay, so just dump that into a large bowl. And get rid of that box. Then we are going to add in the baking soda and the 2 teaspoons of cinnamon. And we're just going to whisk this together. Now these come together really pretty quickly as far as the mixing goes. But once we mix them, because it's going to be a relatively sticky dough, you don't want to try rolling them out right away. So we're going to refrigerate them for about an hour or so. Okay, so that looks pretty well incorporated. Now I'm going to switch to my silicone spatula here. We don't need the sugar or the teaspoon of cinnamon, and knowing me, I might accidentally throw them in if I don't move them aside. We're going to add in our pumpkin and our egg and our 2 egg yolks. As I said, having egg yolks in there instead of just another egg is just going to add some richness and some fat that we're not going to get from the pumpkin puree. Typically in cookies you'll have butter or something, and this addition of an extra yolk will help us with the texture of these cookies. So we're just going to mix this until it comes together. It's going to be very dry and crumbly for quite some time. We're just going to have to keep mixing it, and I like to press down and of course scatter some on the countertop. And just keep mixing until it comes together. So let me finish this and I'll be right back to show you what it looks like. Okay, so we are almost there. You can see there's still a little powderiness, so I'm just folding that over and pressing it in, making sure that that all gets incorporated. Gotten that pretty well into one big cohesive mass. And that's what you want. Now it's going to be slightly tacky, sticky, not tacky like the shirt. What we're going to need to do so that we can roll them out and put them in our sugar without any concerns about getting that all over our hands, we're going to throw this in the refrigerator for at least an hour. You can do it for longer if you needed to go run to the store or what have you. But I will put this in the refrigerator, chill this down, and we'll be back to roll out our cookies. Okay, so the dough has been chilling for over an hour. I'm going to take it out of that bowl and put it into this bowl so that I can weigh it. It's about a tablespoon that you want for each cookie, but I ended up getting like 26 the last time. I think I got 27 the time before that. So I just want to weigh them out so that they are all uniform. So I'm going to put my smaller bowl on the scale, and it is zeroed out so that I will only be getting the weight of the cookie dough here. And then what I will do is divide that by 24. This makes 24 cookies. And we will see how much each cookie should weigh. That way I don't have to worry about getting my cookie scoop out and measuring that way. I can just do it with a regular spoon and check to make sure that they are correct. Okay, so about 25, 26 grams to each. So what I'm going to do is zero my scale out. So then when I take any of this dough out, it'll show me what I'm taking out. So I can make sure it's about 25, 26 grams. 21, 23, 24, 25. Okay, so I'm just gonna loosely roll it into a ball, clear that out again, and do the same thing. I'm gonna keep going until I have all 24 rolled out, and I will be right back. Okay, this is a very sticky dough, which is why I refrigerated it, and I didn't have as much trouble the last time when I used the cookie scoop, probably because I didn't have the lights on, and also my hands were warming it up. So you could easily use a scoop if you'd prefer to not make too much of a mess. But I have all 24 rolled out over here. I'm going to clear this up and this, and I'll be right back. Okay, so my hands are clean for the moment. They're probably gonna get a little messy again. But what we're going to do, because Snickerdoodles have that classic cinnamon sugar coating on them, so I'm going to take my tablespoon of sugar and add my teaspoon of cinnamon and just mix those together in this small bowl. You just want it to be a uniform color so you're not seeing heavy patches of the white sugar or the brown cinnamon. You want to make sure it's pretty consistently mixed, and it is. And my neck is giving me a few issues. Now, as far as the dough being sticky, you could spray your hands with a little cooking spray. I've seen some recipes that when you have a sticky dough, they recommend you wet your hands, but I find that actually makes the dough more wet and actually stick more. So I would probably opt for the cooking spray, and my oven is set right now to 325 degrees. We're gonna do it at a low temperature for a little bit longer, because if it's too warm, it'll start to get that what they call oven spring, where it starts to inflate and get puffy and cakey, and we don't want that. So we're gonna go low and slow, just 325, and let it gently cook so that it doesn't give us that cakiness. Okay, so we're gonna take each of our balls of dough, just run it in our hands again, then run it around in our sugar and cinnamon. Place that there. Now we're gonna do this twice, because the first time is gonna get most of the cookie covered, but you really want that cinnamon sugar flavor. So we're gonna amp it up by doing a double roll. So let me get all these coated the first time, and I'll be back to show you the second go around. Okay, so here's the last one of the first go around, and they're all fairly well coated, but you really want that cinnamon sugar coating these, because that is a classic Snickerdoodle. Now you could change things up if you wanted to make these like a gingerbread Snickerdoodle. Instead of the cinnamon that I put in the dough, you could put the gingerbread spice that I've made and use the gingerbread spice with the sugar to coat them. You could also, as I said before, use chocolate cake and maybe mix some sugar with some powdered peanut butter. You could use a chocolate cake mix and then just put maybe some peppermint on top, or some peanuts, or whatever. So this is versatile. You can play around with it, but this is just the basic one. I wanted to get this Snickerdoodle one out because someone wanted something made with cinnamon. So you got to do what the big guy says. All right, so now that they're all coated, they're a little easier to pick up. Just gonna do it one more time, just to make sure they're well coated in the cinnamon sugar. Then I will show you what we're going to be doing with that glass and cooking spray when I get back. Okay, last one here. And you can see we didn't even use all of the cinnamon sugar, so you can save it for toast or whatever. You're not even using the full tablespoon of sugar. You may be able to get away with a little less, but I like making sure that I have enough to do a double coat and not worry about running out at the last minute. So I prefer going with the tablespoon. Now, as I was saying, you could do variations. I was just thinking some caramel hard candies broken up on these would be good, whether you use the yellow cake mix or the chocolate cake mix. You could maybe even, like I did with the meringues, you could maybe even grind them up in a food processor, get them powdery, and do this coating with like where there's sugar-free caramels or something like that. And just coat them in that sugar that you've made. So there are many variations. But one thing you do want to do is flatten them. And I'm going to take a glass with a fairly wide bottom and just spray that bottom, because we're going to press each of these down. Now I'm going to press them down until it comes to about the edge of the glass. I'm not going to do a specific thickness, but it should be good just going out to the edges of this glass. And it may stick a little, but it'll come off. So just flatten all of these, and I'll be right back. Okay, so those are all pressed out. And one last little thing that I'm going to do is, just because you've pressed them out, but they will start to kind of spring back a little bit, so they don't get too puffy in the middle. I'm just going to gently press my thumb into the center of each cookie, because if you've ever seen when a cookie gets like that dome, this will help to prevent it, because the center will rise, but not as much because it's starting from a lower level, if you know what I mean. This is often done with hamburgers or chicken burgers to keep it from becoming, like, sometimes have you ever seen when you cook a hamburger and it becomes almost like a football shape? It's because you didn't press in the center. Okay, these are all gently pressed in the middle. These are going to go into a 325-degree oven. I have 2 racks in the middle of the oven, and I'm going to put one on top, one on the bottom. They're going in for 12 to 14 minutes. So after the first 7 minutes, I'm going to take them out and swap the trays. The one on top will go on the bottom and vice versa. And I will also rotate them this way, just so that if the front or back is hotter, it's going to even everything out. So let me get these into the oven, and I'll be back when they are done. Okay, so there we have our cake mix Snickerdoodles, fresh out of the oven. These went for 14 minutes until I could touch the top and it wasn't going to just sink in. It has a little bit of give, which will give it some of that chewiness. At 12 minutes, I pushed and I immediately got an indent that just kind of stayed there. But that fills back up as it continues to cook, so you can't even really tell. All right, so we are going to leave these on the sheet pans for just like 5 minutes to let them set up. Then we're going to take them off and put them onto the cooling racks so that they can cool completely. And you can leave them on the parchment or you can take them off. I prefer to leave them, just because if you try to pull them off when they're too warm, some of the cookie will stick to the parchment. So I prefer to wait until they're cooled to peel them off. Not that that can't happen then also, but it's less likely. So let them cool on the sheet pans for about 5 minutes, then take them off and let them cool completely, or at least until warm. You don't have to wait until they're totally cool. But there you have some quick and easy Snickerdoodles that you can make with a sugar-free cake mix. Now, I'm sure you all want to know what the damage is to your bites, points, calories, or macros. If you have one of these cookies, it will be 2 bites or 2 of the old blue points. It would be 3 bites if you had 2 of the cookies. and then it goes back to 2, so that'd be like 5 bites for 3, etc. If you're following calories, these will be 60 calories each. And if you are following macros, the fat would be 1.2 grams, the carbs would be 14.2 grams, and the protein would be 1.2 grams. That's per cookie. And they definitely smell like the holidays. I hope somebody is going to be happy with these. And I don't mean Paul, I mean Santa. But we shall see. It is Christmas Eve, so we'll learn soon enough if I was a good boy or a bad boy. But if you think this was a good video, please give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet and you are looking for recipes that can help you on a weight loss journey. Share this video or any of my videos if you think there is someone who would be interested in this content. And hit the notification bell for the next time I upload any sort of video. And the recipe for these is down in the description box below on my blog. So just click the link there. It'll take you directly to my blog, and you can then search for Snickerdoodles or just scroll through and look at all the other delicious foods that I have available on there. Some of them I have not done videos for yet, so those will be coming up in the new year. And speaking of the new year, this is going to be my last video for 2021. I'm going to enjoy the holidays and not worry about videos or YouTube or anything else, but just relaxing and hopefully not burning the coal I got in my stocking. Come on, Santa, come through. Anyway, you can also follow me over on social media. Here's my Instagram handle, and there are 2 Facebook groups that I'm part of. One is mine, Recipes with Roy, and the other one is Finding Our Way, W-E-I-G-H. And that one I co-admin with Jennifer Lynn from the Jennifer Lynn channel, as well as Bree Coleman from Balancing Life with Bree. So join us over there, lots of great tips, tricks, recipes, support, etc. So I'm going to get a plate set out for Santa. I got some milk in the fridge, making sure it's chilled nicely. Don't want to upset the old guy. So let me go take care of that, and I will see you next year. Until then, bye.